Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. Today, we are going to be talking about key steps to transition success. First of all, I want to thank all of you for joining me today. This is a great topic, especially if your child or the loved one that you are in charge of is, in their mid to late teens. You're coming up on a challenging time. A lot changes when those kiddos turn 18. So we're here to go over some of the tips and tricks that will help you make things run just a little bit smoother for you. Um, Today's webinar is being recorded. We do record all of our webinars. You are invisible to me. I know you're out there because I see the number of participants, but I cannot see you or hear you. So feel free to enjoy your lunch, have a drink or a snack or whatever. We should be here for about an hour. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. It's best if you just put those in the chat box. That way, I can keep an eye on the chat box while I'm going through my presentation and still be able to get to your questions. If you happen to be listening to this on our podcast instead of having registered for the webinar, and you want a copy of the slides, you can just email us, contact@cpgcares.net, and we would be happy to send you a copy of the slides. Everybody else who registered for the webinar, you will automatically get the slides and a link to the recording once this webinar is over. So no worries there. All right, so again, thank you for joining me. Put your questions and comments in the chat box and we will go ahead and get started. So first of all, I never know if you've joined us for some of our webinars in the past or if this is your first one, but who are we? Who is Consolidated Planning Group and why do we do these webinars and why should you even be listening to me? Well, let's start off with answering those questions. We are a holistic financial firm that focuses on families who have special needs loved ones. We've been doing this for about 30 years, and the owner of our small independent firm has two special needs kids. So that's why our goal is to help educate you and advocate for you. I almost said educate. That's a different thing, I think. Anyway, we're here to advocate for you. We want to make sure that things are easier for you than what we had to go through. We try to clear out some of the noise and some of the extra information that's out there and help you focus on what's really, really important. So we are located just outside of Houston, Texas, and we work mainly with families all across Texas, but we also serve families all across the United States. If you are from a different state, I would love to see a hi in the chat box. Tell me where you're from, or if you're from Texas, I would love to hear that too. We are fully licensed in life insurance and securities and investments. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and we're also certified nationally as Social Security advisors. So we can help you with a wide variety of things. But like I said, what we mainly focus on is special needs planning. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about things like protection plans, protecting your family for what would happen if you live too long or you die early, or somewhere along the way you become disabled. You need life insurance, you need disability insurance, you need income protection. We also help families with lifetime care, thinking about once you are gone and you are unable to take care of your loved one, who's going to do that for you? And how much is that going to cost? The numbers can be quite daunting, but we're here to show you that it can be done. We can help you, and we can help you figure those things out. Thank you for joining us I've got a couple of Texas teachers out there, so I hope you're enjoying the day off, perhaps. and staying warm, definitely. So today's topic is about transition planning. You'll see that that's one thing that we help families with a lot. We also do ABLE accounts and, like I said, advocacy. So fewer than a tenth of a percentage of all the financial advisors across the whole United States focus on special needs planning. There's over 263,000 financial advisors out there just in the United States, but fewer than 200 of us actually focus on special needs planning. And way fewer than those 200 are companies like us that are willing to share all this information with our free webinars. So you are definitely in the right place because it takes a lot of specialized knowledge to make sure that this all happens and that the nuances of special needs planning are understood. Not everybody gets it. We here at Consolidated Planning Group, we get it and we know what you are going through. So starting off with special needs planning, there's some things you can do as you're starting to get the ball rolling. We never want to like get you in trouble or chide you or punish you for not having started earlier or not having certain things done. We're going to start right now and we're looking towards the future. What do you have in place and where do you want to go? And that's kind of how you start with planning. First of all, you can get started on a letter of intent. We're going to go over that in 1 second. You definitely want to work with a special needs planner or other experts in the field. You need a planner who can help you financially, who understands this stuff. You need an attorney who understands the nuances of special needs matters. And you need, just like your doctors, you need experts who know what they're doing. You want to gather together all of the planning documents, the things that you've already got set up, and take a look at those, see where you are and what's going on and what you do have in place and what's not finished yet. And then think about how you want your future to look and the future of your loved one. What's your vision? What do you hope for? We always say that we should hope for the best, but plan for the worst, because that way you're covered. If it all goes wrong, you're covered. But we want to stay optimistic and positive anyway. So plan for the worst, hope for the best, and have an idea of what you really want, because we want to help you make that happen. So the first thing when you're looking at planning for the future of your child, this is an easy way to get started: the letter of intent. Now, I say it's easy. Before my life as a financial advisor, I was an English teacher. So writing this letter of intent for me is easy. And I understand it's not that way for everybody. What I would suggest is that you start on your laptop, on your computer, whatever. You start a Word document. Start off with the facts about your child. This letter of intent is meant to help somebody if you're gone and somebody needs to step in and take your place. Well, you know more about your child than anyone else on this earth. So this is kind of the information that you want to leave to that person to tell them how to take care of your child and your family and explain your family's needs and your child's routines and interests and likes and dislikes and all that stuff for somebody who has to step in. So like I said, start with the facts: name, birth date, diagnoses, doctors that they see, prescriptions that they're on. Then maybe go into the history a little bit, their educational history, employment, if they've held a job. What arrangements have you made for them? We've already planned for our child to move into this residential community, or we've already made the decision that our child is going to live with their aunt or whatever that might be. Start with those facts, and those will lead you to thinking about your child and thinking about the things that are, more just personalized to you and your family. For example, a little bit about your child's personality and their habits. Do they need help getting dressed? Do they need help picking an appropriate outfit for this freezing weather that we have? Um, what do they like? What do they dislike? If if I had to step in tonight because you were stuck on an icy bridge and you couldn't get home and I had to step in and cook dinner for your family, maybe you would want me to know that if I tried to serve your son spaghetti, it is going to be the end of his world and there is going to be a fight and it's going to cause all kind of drama. Whereas if I knew that he loves chicken nuggets and to serve chicken nuggets instead of spaghetti, everything would be great. These are the kinds of things that you want to put into your letter of intent. As silly as it sounds, it's the things that make your family run smoother that someone needs to know. What fitness habits do they have? What do they like to do for fun? What are your spiritual, religious beliefs that you want your child to be brought up in? Um, where is your important information located? How do I find um, your child's banking information or their Able account or their their contacts, a contact list? You can put all of this stuff into the letter of intent. Like I said, start it on your computer, print the version that you have been working on and put it in a binder where somebody can find it. It's not going to do any good if it's locked up on your computer behind 2 or 3 passwords and nobody can get to it, right? So print it. And then, maybe in 6 months you look at it and you say, oh, we have grown and evolved and this no longer applies. Now we need to know about these things. Go back onto your computer, edit your document, print the newest version, stick it in that binder, and you're good to go for another 6 months or whatever. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. And as I said, if you start with the facts, it will lead to the extra information and you'll be just fine. It's not, the letter of intent is not a legal document. It is not something that you have to file with the court or have anybody sign off on. You don't even have to have it notarized. It's just kind of a love letter that you are writing for your family's benefit. Okay, so start with that. Um, we also want to make sure that you are keeping an eye on how your child's care in the future is going to be funded. Now, I mean, that's really our specialty, so we talk about that a lot. But you want to think about state and federal programs that your child qualifies for and making sure that they don't lose those. You want to make sure that your child has a special needs trust because you can put money in there for their future. Like your life insurance, your investment accounts, any other assets you have, bank accounts, all of that can go to the special needs trust for the benefit of your child. They can also have an Able account. That's another place where you can have some money saved up for them. And these are ways that you're going to set money aside to fund your child's future care. So let's go through some of these. And like I said, please don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat box and I will get to those as much as I can. Okay, so here's a brief timeline for you when it comes to the benefits that your children can be getting from the government. First of all, as soon as you have a diagnosis, or even if you don't have a diagnosis yet, but you think that there might be some kind of intellectual or developmental disability, you can sign up on the waiting list for the waiver programs. Now, here in Texas, that waiting list can be 20 to 25 years long. So as soon as you have any idea that there could be any sort of issue, you sign up your child on that list. You have to contact your local intellectual and developmental disability authority. That's your LIDA. And they will help you get signed up on that list. Other states don't necessarily have a really long waiting list, so that's great. You might be able to get services early. But like I said, here in Texas, it's about a 20-year wait right now. And even, even if your children don't get services until they're in their 30s or 40s, it's still very beneficial. But it's best if you can sign up as early as possible. So they're going to be, they're diagnosed, living life. You probably will not qualify for SSI benefits until your child turns 18. The reason for that is when your child is a minor, the Social Security Administration is going to look at your income and your assets. And as we're going to see here in a moment, those numbers are quite low. Most adults who can work won't qualify for SSI because you're going to be making too much money or you're going to have too much money in the bank. But when your child turns 18, they're not going to look at the parents anymore. They're going to look at your individual child's assets and income. And as long as you keep their numbers below those limits, they will be able to qualify for the SSI benefits. And then that also comes with Medicaid. So at age 18, hopefully, your child will get SSI and Medicaid. Then they're going to go through life with those benefits for several years. And when you are in your late 60s, or if you become disabled before that, or if you pass away, your Social Security benefits will be turned on. So maybe you are 67 and you turn on your Social Security retirement benefits. When you turn on your benefits, your child will get a benefit from the Social Security Administration called SSDI. Now, this benefit has several different names. They might call it SSDI. They used to call it DAC, Disabled Adult Child. They also call it Childhood Disability Benefits, CDB, and sometimes it's RSDI. But those four things are all pretty much the same thing. And what it is when the parent turns on their Social Security benefits, the child gets a benefit off of the parent's record. And once the child is receiving that benefit for 24 months after they're 18 years old, so the earliest they could get this would be when they were 20, but then they will become eligible for Medicare. And if you sign up correctly in the right order, you sign up for SSI, you get Medicaid, then you sign up for SSDI, 2 years pass, you get Medicare, then you'll be able to have both. You'll be dual eligible for Medicaid and Medicare. So we want to make sure that you do those things in the right order. So the first thing on that list I talked about, as soon as you know that there might be an issue, you want to sign up for these Texas waiver programs or the waiver programs in whatever state you happen to be in. For MDCP, class, and DBMD, there is an 877 number for you to call. You see that listed there. Now, MDCP is for medically dependent children. Not everybody will qualify. And the waiting list is quite a bit shorter because not everybody qualifies. Class is a very broad waiver. A lot of people qualify for that, so that one's one of the long ones. DBMD is for deaf, blind, and multiple disabilities. So your loved one has to be deaf and blind and have another disability. But because everybody on this call, if you have someone who has any intellectual or developmental disability, those people will qualify for class. So all of you should call that 1-877 number that is listed right there. Next on the list is HCS, that's Health and Home and Community-Based Services, Texas Home Living, and CFC, Community First Choice. For those waiver programs, you want to contact your local intellectual and developmental disability authority, your LIDA. There's a link there where you can go put in your, actually, you don't put in your county, you just look down their list for your county and you find out who your local authority is. When you get these slides later on today, that will be a clickable link for you. So you definitely, everybody on this call wants to sign up with that as well. And then finally, Star Plus offers programs for adults over the age of 21 and over. So if your child is already older, you can call this 877 phone number as well. This page offers a list of some of the different waiver programs. And I think what I will do is leave this up as I go over a couple of questions I see coming in. So you can look at the different waiver programs that are available in Texas and which ones you think you might qualify for or your loved one qualifies for while I answer some of these questions. So the first one, if a child does not have a guardian, will they not get dual coverage until they hit a certain age? If they have a parent, they won't get dual coverage until the parent gets Social Security. Yeah, that's a very interesting question, Melissa, and I appreciate you raising that question. Typically, yes, if I haven't even thought about that, if there is no guardian, whose Social Security record can they draw from other than their own? I really don't know. I will have to get back to you on that one and update our slides for that. But if they do have a parent or a guardian, yeah, they don't get dual coverage, Medicaid and Medicare until that person turns on their Social Security, and then the child is filed under their record. Now, you can't get both SSI and SSDI payments at the same time. Hopefully SSDI is going to be a lot more, but you can have both Medicaid and Medicare. And if anybody is an expert in the group on the Social Security, I mean, we are. I just haven't heard that question before, but if anyone has been through that and knows if a child is, a ward of the state, do they get Medicare and SSDI benefits? I really don't know. Okay, Angela wants to know if my husband and I can afford to care for our child due to our income. Should we still apply for SSI when he turns 18, or can we wait until later? Well, the SSI benefits are for your child, and you can set those aside for your child so that he can use them later once you're gone. I mean, it's great that you have a healthy enough income that you're not really that worried about it. But not only is it the SSI, it's also Medicaid, which is very beneficial for the child. And if something happens to you, they're going to want to have that SSI and Medicaid in place. So it really is best if you do. Now, if you're doing so well and it's more trouble than it's worth, because there are hoops you have to jump through for the SSI that we're going to talk about. If it's more trouble than it's worth, then, don't worry about it. If you've got good health coverage for your child and you've got plenty of income that you can set aside for them for the future, that's fine. It's up to your personal desires and needs, and we'd be happy to talk you through that. My child is turning 18 in May, and I plan to seek guardianship. Will she still be able to get Social Security, or does my income still count because I'm her guardian? Ooh, Casey, that's a good one. So when the child is 18, even if you're the guardian, they're not going to count your income. They're going to only look at hers or his. So they would still be eligible for SSI benefits, even if there is guardianship. Community first choice. Okay, so this is a waiver that really works for Medicaid recipients with disabilities. So if you can qualify for Medicaid and you have a disability, you should be able to get the community first choice waiver. And again, contact your local authority. CFC is listed there. For the local authority, they'll be able to get you signed up for that program. Okay, I'm going to pause on questions. I see we've got a lot more. Oh, except for this one. Angela wants to know, she says, I'm a disabled veteran under age 55. I get Social Security benefits. What happens when my son turns 18? So I alluded to this about being very careful that you make sure that you do these things in the right order. And Angela, it might be kind of important for you to call and make an appointment with our office, because going back to this slide, you want to do SSI and Medicaid first, and then later, after you've gotten Medicaid and SSI, turn on your child's SSDI, which are the benefits under the parent's record, and then get Medicare later. And the reason you want to do this is because if the higher amount that your child will get from SSDI is too much money for them to qualify for SSI, then they won't be able to qualify for SSI and they won't get Medicaid, and you can't really go back once you've gone forward. So so let's say your child turns 18, you just automatically put them on SSDI, and then they have to wait for their 2 years, and then they get Medicare. If you had done it SSI and Medicaid first, they could have Medicaid during those 2 years while they're waiting for Medicare. And it's kind of important because then they can be dual eligible and have both. So you want to do it in the right order, the right sequence. Okay. Okay, and someone here is answering our question. Thank you so much for your answer on this. It says, since SSDI is based on paying into Social Security, which I knew that, but I was just testing you guys. I'm teasing. Because SSDI is paid for through Social Security taxes, if the person doesn't have an adult who paid into Social Security and that person never had a job where they paid into Social Security, then they probably won't qualify for that SSDI benefit ever. They will just remain on SSI and Medicaid. So thank you guys very much for your answers on that one. Okay, so enough about waivers and the waiver programs for right this minute, unless I find more questions about that. Let's go on to the SSI benefit. So when your child turns 18 is when they should apply for SSI. If you do it even the day before they turn 18, they're probably not going to qualify because they're going to look at your income, right? So you need to try to get online and schedule an appointment for the day after your child or very soon after your child turns 18. There's an online application you can get started. And it's really cool because if you start the application online, even if they're super busy and they don't get to your file for 6 months, which is unfortunately kind of common, they will backdate and back pay you to your child's birthday if you start online. So that's really cool. When you're starting your application, you want to make sure that you have evidence that demonstrates that your child has a disability that began before age 22. So you want to have the names, phone numbers, addresses of their treating physicians, the current ones, current doctors, a diagnosis history, what medications are they currently on, and what are they for. They don't need to know dosage, but generally, these are the doctors my child sees. Here's a list of the diagnoses. Here's a list of the medications. If your child is working, they're going to want to see pay stubs, and they also want to see bank statements. And that's to make sure that your child is not earning too much or doesn't have too much in the bank, too much assets. You might even, if you're a little extra like we are, you might want to call your doctor's primary care physician, your child's primary care physician, and get a copy of those records and see what's in there. Make sure that it has, evidence that your child has these diagnoses. So make sure that everything is in there and correct. Not like us when we're adults, we don't want our insurance company to know everything we have wrong with us. Well, this is kind of the opposite. You do want to make sure everything is listed in your doctor's records. So there are limits for the SSI. You can only make up to the substantial gainful amount, which for 2024, that amount is $1,550 a month or $2,590 per month if your individual is blind. So they can work, but if they make more than $1,550 a month, they're going to be disqualified for benefits. If they make less than that, that's okay, but their benefit will be decreased based on the formula that the Social Security Administration uses and how much your child is working. Now, if an individual is in school full-time and working, they can make more, and they'll still allow SSI benefits to be higher. There is a complicated tax rule about that, and we can go into that if you're interested. Generally, for the purpose of this particular webinar, we're trying to stay high level. So just know that if your child is in school and working, you can ask for a student earned income exclusion. They're not going to do that for you automatically. You do have to ask for it. So for most people, just know that the income limit for SSI is $1,550 a month. The asset limit is $2,000. You can have one house and one vehicle. And if you have money in an ABLE account or a special needs trust, they do not count those against you. Okay, so $1,550 a month income, less than $2,000, one car, one house in the person's name, unless it's in an ABLE or a special needs trust. And what can you get from SSI? Why do you want to file for this? Because not only do you get Medicaid, but when you get SSI, the individual person can get $943 a month. If it's a couple where both parties are disabled and they're married, unfortunately, you would think the amount would be what, 1,886? No, they don't give you the full benefit if you're married. This is one place where the government really disappoints me because they kind of discourage people from getting married. But if it's a married couple where both parties are disabled, they only can get $1,415 a month. Okay, so keep that in mind. When you apply for SSI benefits, first of all, we want you to know that this can take a while. If you started online, they will backdate it, which is cool because you can get a larger chunk of money. But it does take a while for all of these benefits to go through. You're going to talk to your local office and they're going to gather your information and fill out your application and put your file together. And then they send your file off to Austin, if you're here in Texas, to the Disability Determination Services Office. That is who is going to look through your medical records and get in touch with your doctor and order information from the doctor and really look into it to make sure your child qualifies as having a disability. You can call the Disability Determination Services and they actually do answer their phone and answer questions, so that's pretty cool. You can find out who's in charge of your file and if they have everything that you need, if there's any other information that they're missing, that kind of stuff. You can reach out to them for that. Now, another thing that you need to know is that when you call to fill out your SSI application, which is Supplemental Security Income, they're automatically also going to fill out an application for SSDI for you. But if you remember that first slide, SSDI is not going to come along until the parent turns on their Social Security or becomes disabled or passes away. So your child will probably not qualify for SSDI. So what we see sometimes is that a household will receive a letter from Social Security saying, you've been denied benefits. And you're thinking, what? I've been denied benefits. How is that possible? My child is clearly disabled and clearly doesn't have enough money and isn't working. How could we possibly be denied? Well, if you look really closely, it might say on the top of that letter that they're talking about SSDI, which you shouldn't qualify for yet. And then a few weeks later, you'll get the paperwork that says that you have been approved for SSI. So if you get that denial letter, don't panic without, reaching out to someone first and taking another look at that letter and take a deep breath. If you get that, it might be okay. So, yes, then later in life, once the parent turns on their own Social Security benefit, the child is entitled to receive half of that parent's benefit if they have a disability. So your child will go from getting $943 a month to receiving half of whatever it is that you get for your Social Security. So let's say you get $3,000. You will still receive your $3,000 every month, and then your child will receive $1,500 every month. Then 24 months later, your child will be able to get their Medicare once they're over the age of 18. And the next thing that will happen in life is that a parent will pass away. It happens to all of us, unfortunately. But when that parent passes away, the child's benefit will go from 50% to 75%, and your child will receive that benefit for the rest of their life. So it's really important that you do this correctly. And there are family maximums if there's a non-working spouse who's drawing benefits, or maybe there's more than one special needs child. You could run up against the family maximum. Please don't ask me in the chat what that is right now, because the Social Security Administration changes day by day and their formulas change all the time. And I really don't know what the exact maximum is. 300% of something somewhere. But just be aware that you could run up against maximums. Okay. So before we get into ABLE accounts and special needs trust and the next topics that we're going to talk about, let's go back to the chat box and get some more of these questions answered. My son has been in the SSDI system since he was 5. He turns 18 in October. Is this an easy transition? I will no longer have to report my wages. Will it just go into effect? Okay. So my first question for you, Melissa, is SSDI, or are you talking about SSI? If, for example, you are a widow and your child is receiving SSDI as a minor because maybe your husband passed away. So that's the scenario I'm seeing could be possible in my head, or a parent is disabled and that parent, he's drawing benefits from, I think you're the one who said you were disabled. Anyway, when your child turns 18, what you want to happen is for them to stop receiving this SSDI, turn on SSI and Medicaid, and then reapply for SSDI after SSI and Medicaid are turned on. Because your child is no longer going to receive benefits as a minor under your record, typically they will stop the benefit and you would have to reapply, because the child will now receive the benefit not as a minor under your record, but as an adult with a disability. So you have to reapply. But that's good because you want to get that SSI and Medicaid first and then reapply for the SSDI. Melissa, call my office and get yourself scheduled for a free consultation so we can go into that in detail with you. Okay, the student earned income exclusion. Does this also apply to students who are 18 plus and in a transition program, like the transition programs for 18 to 22-year-olds? Yes, as long as the individual is, I think, under the age of 22, in school regularly, and their criteria for regularly attending school is like 12 hours a week. So your child, if they're in school, if they're under 22 and working, they can get the student earned income exclusion. If the applicant makes more than $15.50 a month, should they still apply for SSI? There's not really a reason to do that, because if you're making more than $15.50 a month, you will not qualify for SSI benefits. So there's really no advantage to applying for that unless the individual loses that job or gets their hours cut back. Oh, thank you. This person posted a link to the Family Maximum website, so you can all look up that. I'm going to paste that into the chat box for everybody so that you can go look at the formula for family maximums. Thank you very much. SSI. So, okay, SSI. Melissa, just call us. My child is my niece, who I got full custody of when she turned 17. Okay, cool. Will she still qualify as my Social Security beneficiary, even though I only parented her for a short time as a minor? You guys are full of excellent questions today. If your child is your niece and you got full custody of her, you might have to actually have guardianship for her to get your benefits off of your Social Security record. You might have to actually adopt her. Is there an adoption, or is it all legal? There's so many questions to go through with you. Again, Casey and Melissa, put it on your to-do list. Sign up with us. When both parents receive SSDI, will the child get half of both? I wish. No, you only get benefits from one parent at a time. It can be whichever one is higher. So even if like dad retires first and the child starts drawing from dad's record, and then mom retires, if mom's is higher, you can switch over to mom's, or vice versa. You get whichever one is higher. And if a parent dies before Social Security retirement age, does the child still collect 75%? Yes. Yes. Okay. And if there's guardianship, yes. Okay. If there's guardianship of my child, of my adult child, can they still collect on the higher parent's Social Security record? Yes. And that counts for biological parents and step parents and adopted parents. Okay. I see questions about ABLE coming up. Thank you, Carlos. We're going to go switch into that topic now. So how do you protect these benefits that your child is allowed to get and still save money for them? That is where you have to make sure that your money and your child's money are in the right buckets to not hide them from Social Security or from the government, because the government comes up with these ways to help protect their child. You're not hiding money, but you have to make sure that the money is in the right place. You need to make sure that your loved one's name is not set up as the beneficiary on any of your life insurance or any of your assets. Because if you pass away and you have like on your bank account, oh, my assets are going to first go to my spouse, but if both of us pass away, then it will be divided up between all my children. That's what people normally say. But if it goes directly to your child, they're all of a sudden going to have all this money and not be able to get their benefits anymore. So you need to make sure that the portion of money that you want to leave to your special needs child goes not to them, but to the special needs trust for the benefit of that child. And you also have to talk to your parents, your aunts and uncles. Maybe they want to leave money for your child when they pass away. They have to know that that money has to be left to a trust, a special needs trust, not outright to your child, okay? Because that could ruin all of their other benefits. I mean, it's fixable, but it's a pain. So just have it set up correctly from the beginning. Special needs trust. Now, a special needs trust and an ABLE account work very well together because with the special needs trust, you can put in as much money as you want. It could be millions in the special needs trust. There's no limit. There are two different kinds of special needs trusts. There's a first party and a third party. You want most of your child's money to go to the third party special needs trust. This is for money that someone leaves to the trust, and that's the best way to do it. The money from the special needs trust, if it's in the third party trust, cannot be touched by Medicaid. However, if it's in a first party special needs trust, there is a Medicaid clause to the first party trust where Medicaid can come after your child has passed away and reclaim some of that money because of all of the benefits in theory that your child is receiving while they're alive. So Medicaid can go get reimbursement from the first party special needs trust. What goes into the first party special needs trust is money that belongs to the child. For example, child support would go to a first party special needs trust. If there is some kind of a lawsuit and your child receives a settlement, that is their money that goes to first party trust. If grandma and grandpa accidentally leave money to the child instead of to the third party trust, that money would go into the first party special needs trust. If you have both, it might be beneficial for you to think about using the money from the first party trust first, so that there is not money for Medicaid to reclaim when your child passes away. Just an idea. You do have to have an attorney set up the special needs trust for you. You also, if you want guardianship over your child, that requires an attorney too. We do carry a list of special needs focused attorneys in the state of Texas, so we can refer our clients to a good special needs focused attorney who understands these things, the special needs trust, guardianship, and other alternatives to guardianship. They can help you with your will, all of that kind of stuff. But again, we do want you to work with an expert in the area. Not just any attorney will know all this stuff. The ABLE account. So, some quick information about the ABLE account. I know we've only got about 12 minutes left. The beneficiary is the owner of the ABLE account, but that's okay because the government knows they've set up this way for you to set aside money for a child with a disability, and they're not going to count it against their SSI or Medicaid or their other benefits. You put money in to the ABLE account. They do charge a fee for maintenance, but the money that you put in is invested, and the earnings on that investment are not taxed. So that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, you don't get to take a tax deduction on your federal taxes for money that you put into the ABLE account. Some states do let you have a state income tax deduction for that, but here in Texas, we don't have state income taxes, so you can't get a state income tax deduction for that money. Now, there are limits to how much you can put into the ABLE account, and that limit for this year, for 2024, is $18,000. Every year, it could change a little bit. It's based on whatever the gift tax annual exclusion is for that tax year. So for 2024, you can put in $18,000. If your child is working and they don't have an employer-sponsored retirement plan, they can put in more money. That number is, what is it, 14,580. So the ABLE account is made for disabled individuals where the disability began before age 26. You have to sign kind of an affidavit that states that this individual has a disability. They don't really ask for medical records. At least none of our clients have been audited yet, but I knock on wood for that. We don't want any of you to have to deal with that. Don't lie. You can use this money for almost anything, actually, as long as it can be construed as achieving a better life for an individual with a disability. You can use this money from the ABLE account to pay for those things. It could be a car, vacation, school, tutoring, financial services, even a vacation, as long as, maybe your child and one caregiver. You can't pay for an entire family reunion to go to Disney World, but you can pay for your child and you because you need to take care of your child. The growth in the investments, like I said, that is not taxed, and you can change your investments around twice a year. You can roll over your ABLE account to another family member as long as they also have a disability that began before age 26. Again, Medicaid drawback or clawback or reimbursement, however you want to say it, Medicaid can come back to the ABLE account and claim reimbursement for some of these funds. Now, if you already have a 529C, which is the 529 college savings plan, the ABLE account is also a 529. It is the 529A for ABLE. You can roll money from the 529C. Let's say you had already started saving for college, and now you realize that your child has been diagnosed and your child probably will not go to college. You can roll that money into the ABLE account where they can use it for many, many more things other than just college. You could still use it for college and education expenses if you want to, but you can also use it for really anything for that child. ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. So as long as it helps your child achieve a better life experience, you can use the money from the ABLE account to pay for those things. For example, financial management services, transportation, education, training, assistive technology, personal support services, legal expenses, food and shelter, and this gets important, so please pay attention. You can use your ABLE account to pay for food and shelter, to get cash, to pay for utilities, and it will not cause a reduction to your SSI. However, if you use your special needs trust for these items, rent, mortgage payments, real estate taxes, utilities like gas, electricity, water, homeowners insurance that your lender requires, if you use it to get cash out, if you use it for food, if you use your special needs trust for these items, the Social Security Administration will say, well, you're not using your SSI money for that. You're using your special needs trust for that. So you don't need as much money, and we're going to cut your money down by a third. But they do allow you to pay for those things from your ABLE account. So this is the reason why we want people to have both the ABLE and the special needs trust. The ABLE has a limit on how much you can put in, right? But not a limit on what you can use it for. Whereas the special needs trust, you can put in as much as you want, but you can't use it for these things. So it makes sense that if you have a large chunk of money that you want to give your child, $100,000, well, that's too much to put into your ABLE account because you can only put in 18,000, and you never want your ABLE account to go above $100,000 total. So let's say you have $100,000 that you want to give to your child. You put it into the third-party special needs trust. Then as the years are going by and your child needs to pay for housing, maybe they're living in a community and they need to pay for that community, you can transfer money from your special needs trust into your ABLE account and pay for it that way. Easy peasy. The special needs trust can pay for a wide variety of items. Just make sure that you don't use it for the items that you really need on a daily basis: food, water, shelter, electricity, that kind of stuff. I do see that we have a few more questions coming through. So I think what I'm going to do is get through these last couple of slides, and then I'll get to those last questions. So begin planning early. Right now is the time, no matter how old your child is, right now is the time for you to start planning for their future. The earlier you start, the more of an impact you can have, the easier you will sleep at night, and the more time you have to build resources and connections and build your team of who is going to help your child when they need it. Think about what's going to happen after high school. There are vocational options, residential options, educational options. If you don't want your child to graduate from high school to the couch, you should start thinking about those things early. There could be waiting lists, and you want to make sure that your child has something to do, somewhere to go. You also want to think long and hard before you just say, oh, older sister or older sibling is going to take care of them. That can create some friction, and you want to keep things friendly and loving and not obligatory, right? So here, I mentioned at the very, very beginning of this webinar, if this is the first time you're joining us, we appreciate you. If it's the 20th time you're joining us, we appreciate you. We do offer webinars several times a week on different topics. We help families with all of these different things. As a matter of fact, if you would like to see what upcoming webinars we have, this link will take you straight to the events tab on our website, where we have all of our webinars listed out. You can register for them. And then even if you aren't able to attend live, we will send you the email with the link to the recording and the slides. We do have a fantastic webinar coming up next week. I think it's next week. No, it's this week. It's like tomorrow. We have a webinar coming up with Temple Grandin. If you are unfamiliar with Dr. Temple Grandin, she is autistic and she is in her 70s, which means that when she was a child, this was a time period where they thought autistic children were not going to be able to do anything, not going to be able to have a productive life. And she turned that notion on its head. She got her doctorate degree. She's very, very intelligent and well-spoken. And, you know, farming and ranching and agriculture is not my forte, but she came up with some fantastic innovations on how cattle go to slaughter. There's even a movie about her where Claire Danes plays her. Anyway, she is speaking for us for a webinar tomorrow or Thursday. So check out our upcoming webinars so you can register for that one with Temple Grandin. This is our team. We do everything that we can to help you, and we have it in our hearts to serve you. We work on a collaborative basis. Allison, Jeff, myself, and my husband, Andy, are the financial advisors. We each have our own piece of your puzzle. So when you work with us, Allison handles making sure you have all the special needs topics in order. Jeff runs the financial plans. I do the investments and the proposals for your investment analysis, and Andy does a lot of the life insurance. That way, none of us have to be experts in all of those areas. We can really focus down on our specific area to make sure you have the very best advice. Our team helps with all the paperwork and the phone calls. So if you look at all those smiling faces, please know that You did register for this webinar, and we are going to be reaching out to you. Please be kind when they call or email or ask you if you want to set up your free consultation. We really, during this consultation, use it as a time to let you pick our brains. You have a chat with us. You have access to ask questions to an expert about whatever it is that you want to know about. These are on Zoom. They usually take between 30 to 45 minutes. First, you ask your questions, and we give you as many answers as we possibly can. Then we want to learn about you and your family. And then we'll talk to you a little bit about the planning packages that we offer, what it costs, and how we work, and see if you want to move forward with working with us. I promise we don't bite. We don't harass you. We just want to make sure that your questions are answered. And when we hear a no, we do let it go. We won't keep bugging you, but we do need a yes or a no. So get in touch with us. You can schedule your own appointment using this QR code, or you can call the office or email us, or you can just wait for us to reach out to you, because we will. You can also click these links down here to get to our YouTube channel, where we have hundreds of these past webinars. There's our Instagram page. This link, the little microphone, will take you to our podcast in case you prefer to listen instead of watching. And you can also reach out to us on Facebook. All right, we are really running out of time, but let me see if I can get any of these questions answered. Yes, so if your child is working and they're getting up to that, or even if just by receiving SSI benefits or SSDI, they're getting up to that $2,000 limit in their bank account, that is when it's a great time to open your ABLE account and scooch some money over there so that they don't have $2,000 in their bank account. Thank you so much, Lex. I see that you shared the link straight to go to our scheduling on our website. Please, please, please schedule your appointments. We do a lot of transition and resource fairs. We look forward to seeing you there. A special needs trust might be state specific. If you move different states, just get an attorney in the new state to look it over for you. One that specializes in special needs topics. You will receive a copy of these slides and a link to the webinar recording. If you pay for food and shelter from the third-party trust, you will have a reduction to your SSI benefits. There's some more personalized, specialized questions there. Please set up an appointment. Under what circumstances would Medicare want to get reimbursed from the ABLE account if they've got a first-party trust and an ABLE account? They can take money from both after your child passes away, if there is money left in those areas. It's good to spend that stuff while you're still alive so that Medicaid can't come back and get reimbursement. They surely have some kind of formula that they use to figure out how much they are looking for. I don't know what that is. You can put income. I think we covered that. Yes. Okay. I think we've got most of these questions answered. And if I missed something, please just go ahead and reach out to our office, schedule your consultation, and we'll get your questions answered. If you want to send a testimonial, that's the last thing I'll ask for, and then I will be done for today. My email is mmorris@cpgcares.net. And we are looking for testimonials to put on our website. So if you like this webinar, or if you have worked with us, if you are willing to send in a testimonial, we don't have to use your name. We would love pictures. We would love testimonials, all of that stuff. We thank you again for being here, for spending the time with us. Those of you who hung out through my last couple of slides, I especially appreciate you. And I hope that you have a great day. You're staying warm today, and that you enjoy the rest of your week. We will talk again soon. Stay tuned for more webinars and reach out if there's anything at all that I can help you with. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye-bye.